Good morning, Bishop Peter.
Morning, Mark.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
This is our second session. This time I thought I'd ask you about the Lambeth Conference, which is coming up at the beginning of July, which I know you're going to. Tell us briefly about Lambeth. What's that all about?
The first Lambeth Conference was way back in 1867, and I think this one is the 15th. We're going to be meeting from late July to the 8th of August, and these conferences have always taken place in England. They're an opportunity for bishops from around the Anglican Communion, the global Anglican network of bishops, if you like, to get together, to meet, to pray, to worship, to listen to some really good input from speakers, and to do some consideration of matters that relate to life today.
Right. So it sounds like an exciting conference. How many will be there? How many bishops will be gathered?
I'm not sure actually, because I know COVID is affecting the travel plans of some, but I think bishops and spouses will add up to about 700, maybe 800 people.
Now, traditionally, I understand Lambeth took place at Lambeth Conference, hence the name Lambeth Palace, hence the name Lambeth Conference. Is that true this time? Are you going to get together there?
For quite a while, the Lambeth conferences have actually met at the University of Kent in Canterbury,
I see.
Quite close to Canterbury Cathedral, which is the cathedral of the Archbishop of Canterbury. This time we are going up to Lambeth Palace, though, for a one-day excursion.
And for our listeners, Lambeth Palace is significant because?
That's where the Archbishop of Canterbury mostly resides.
Cool.
That's a palace on the south bank of the Thames River, pretty much within sight of the Houses of Parliament in London.
Wow.
And of course the Archbishop of Canterbury is
very
a member
historic.
of the House of Lords.
Very significant, I'm sure. So all these bishops, when they get together, you imagine they do a lot of talking, maybe legislation and rules and that sort of thing. Is that the style of it or not?
The Lambeth Conference has evolved over the years. There has been a history of making resolutions. This conference, there'll be no resolutions. There'll be instead some things which are called calls, and those calls I think will help shape the culture of the Anglican Communion as we move forward in a world where we're seeking to respond to climate change, to issues of poverty, the effect of climate change on economies, and other things of importance about engaging the world with God's work.
So these calls, is that sort of fashioned around God's call to respond to climate change? Is that the idea?
I think it might be. We'll find out at the conference, and we could talk after the conference about the exact calls that have been made.